live video talking about the direction of my channel, celebrating the fact that I had officially 300 subscribers, and I immediately lost 3 subscribers, bringing me back down to 97, which is fine. The direction of my channel remains the same. However, I was thinking about doing 300 burpees to celebrate my 300 subscribers. I saw no sense in doing 297, so we'll have to wait when that magical day finally happens. I'll probably wait until I get 300 plus, as it does seem to have a tendency to go up and down. I fully realize that I am not everyone's cup of tea as far as YouTube entertainment is concerned. Seeing a middle-aged bald guy doing burpees without a shirt on, and then coming back later in the day and talking about weird shit. Okay, not everyone's going to want to participate in something like that, or even be a passive listener. Fully understandable. I'm not sure that I would listen to myself. You know what? I would. Not because I'm particularly fascinating or an engaging speaker. I'm not by any means. But the things that I talk about, I find fascinating, and that's why I talk about them. Mainly, what I talk about is transformation. It makes me wonder, is there a difference between transformation and change? I think change sort of happens on its own. We've changed from an infant to a toddler to a preteen to a teenager to a young adult to middle-aged, eventually old. That's changing. But is it a transformation? What do we carry with us from one stage to the next? That's pretty interesting to me. As far as transformation, I was transformed in a moment from a drinker, from a heavy drinker, to what easily could easily qualify as an alcoholic, to simply someone who didn't drink. Alcohol no longer played a role in my life in an instant. One night I was drinking. The next day, the moment I became sober, the moment that I realized when I was still drunk that if I wanted to, I could spend the rest of my life without ever having a single drink again. And it just happened that way. Transformation. How? No idea. Bill W., the founder of AA, said that we all need an epiphany in order to make that sort of transformation. And saying to myself, I never have to take a drink again if I don't want to, was certainly an epiphany. It was almost like I never thought that way before. And the next day, I thought like a person who didn't drink. The desire to go out and have one, to have a drink, to pick up my former life was simply no longer there. And I tried. I probably went to a bar, I don't rightly remember. If not the very next night, the night after. Not so much to have a drink, but to just, can I still do the stuff that I used to do, but just not drink? And I quickly realized that I couldn't, because it just did not engage me any longer. No interest. That I still cared about my friends who, were there doing the same old thing, but I couldn't participate. I was no longer a member of that particular tribe. And I didn't have a tribe. I was on my own. I was on my own for quite a period of time. It was a lonely period. However, the transformation continued. My meditation practice, which had been going on for a few years before, my yoga practice, my writing, all of it became much more important to me, deeper. I soon started a writing practice. Now, I had always written, but I soon started a writing practice, which is different. Thinking yourself as a writer, and then you write on those rare moments when you're inspired. And then you spend a lot of time in between wondering why I'm not inspired. That's not a practice. That is, I don't know what it is. It's someone who wants to be a writer but doesn't practice writing because they believe you have to be inspired. There's not the realization that you court inspiration, that you perform rituals, that you show up at your desk and you say, inspiration, here I am. Here are my keyboards. Here are my fingers. Here's my heart. Here's my brain, completely open. Fill me up. I have capacity for inspiration to be expressed. And then it happens. Or it doesn't happen. And you just sit in front of the keyboards and eventually just write a few words to have something up on the screen. That's practice because you're still writing. Plenty of times when I wrote things that just had absolutely no meaning whatsoever, not even to me, except the deepest meaning of all, I was practicing my craft. I was practicing writing. I was putting words on the screen. I was living to that mantra that I had, words on a page, every day. And it has been probably 24 years now, every day, words on a page, words on a screen. So I cheat a little bit. Even doing a 100-mile race, even doing 24-hour races, I would send myself a text. Just a few words, trying to find some meaning in what I was doing, or a short poem, or just a lyrical script, or whatever. I would write something. I would find that time. What else was I going to do? I had 24 hours of going in a circle, or on a trail, or whatever, but I had that time. I could take a minute. Same with my meditation. I would go to one of the aid stations and I would put myself away from people and I would close my eyes and I would think my mantra. I would meditate 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I was more refreshed than if I had, I don't know, done anything else at an aid station. I still hydrated, I still got fuel, but I meditated first and then I hit the trail again. So transformation, I don't know what causes it, how it happens. It's the same with asking for inspiration. I guess you sort of court it by showing up, practicing yoga every day, meditating every day. Transformation happens. That's the whole role of both meditation and yoga. We can simply say yoga because yoga includes meditation. The 8 limbs of yoga, you have the restraints, the ethical practices. Then you have, those are the yamas. Then you have the niyamas, which are more personal disciplines and conducts that you have. And then you have the asanas, which are the poses. Then you have pranayama, which is modifying the breath. Then you have withdrawing the senses. I put these last all under the category of meditation. Technically, some people might not. But we have withdrawing the senses, then we have one point of concentration, and then we have meditation, and then we have samadhi. Samadhi is that bliss consciousness. But transformation starts as soon as you begin practicing yoga, as soon as you start doing those personal ethical guidelines of the niyamas, or the observations of the niyamas, or the breath work, or the asanas, transformation begins. Your body is purifying itself. I've talked the past few days of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, and it's a very profound psychological, yogic means of literally transforming who we are psychologically. It's a whole role of yoga, removing ourselves from suffering. People associate that with Buddhism. But of course, the Buddha was a yogi. He practiced all the yoga techniques until very stringently, to the point where he was physically and emotionally and mentally exhausted to the point of death. He had withheld from eating, withheld from drinking. He had done all these practices to the extreme until the point again where he was absolutely about to die when he accepted a glass of milk from a young girl. And he was revived, and he realized that that path wasn't for him, not in that extreme. He sat under a tree, and he said, I will sit under this tree in deep meditation until I realize, until I'm liberated, until I realize the cause of suffering and the means to escape suffering. When he emerged from meditation, he had the Four Noble Truths: life is suffering, the reason why life is suffering, and then how to escape suffering. But before Buddhism, we had yoga, Ashtanga yoga. Hey, Aldo, how are you? Good person to have here, because you are someone else who has undergone a transformation. I was explaining in the beginning of my talk the difference between change and transformation, that change happens predictably, often. Life is all about change. Nothing is ever the same. How we went from infants to, we went from firstborn to infant to toddler to teenager to young adult to middle age, eventually to being old. All those are changes. The body's changed. My hairline has changed. My eyes have changed. Everything changes. I get a new car. That's changed. My bank account changes. Transformation, though, magical, happens by grace. But we can put things in the right condition for transformation to happen. By doing yoga, by meditating, by prayer, by doing burpees, by working out. And I believe it's through fitness that the transformation happened for you, although you might have a different means. It might have been a different story for you. But it's still, when you look back, you can only think. Aldo says, he's doing amazing, thank you, and change, I try to always welcome. Yes, because it's always happening. But I think there's a bit of that, there's a fine line, a fine definition between change that always happens and transformation, because not everyone is transformed. Maybe they are, but it's a rare thing. I told the story of how one night I was a drinker, and I had been for well over a decade. And in a moment, simple realization, if I could never have a drink again if that's what I wanted. It just occurred to me. I don't have to drink if I don't want to. And I was immediately transformed. I never had a drink again. And I can only, I was talking about Bill W., the founder of AA, and he said, you need an epiphany. You need to become a different person in order to quit drinking. Otherwise, you struggle for the rest of your life with addiction. You become dependent upon AA or other means of treatment to hold on to that sobriety. You're always one step away from backsliding. But if you are transformed, you're just someone who doesn't drink anymore. It's just no longer part of your life, or whatever it is: drugs, overeating, lack of fitness. Aldo says definitely fitness. It can happen for me the same. It was one day to another. Yeah, it's always a mystery. And, we just simply don't know how it happens. But knowing that there's a promise that it will happen or it can happen makes all the difference in the world. That means we just make ourselves available for the magic and the mystery to happen. We make ourselves available to God. If we're closed off, nothing happens because we won't allow it. We block it. We're blocking that channel. But if we're open to possibilities, who's to say what the limit? We can't say because we're open to everything. We're open to every single possibility. Open to everything, closed to nothing. That's the whole nature of surrender, which is one of the key steps in the 12 steps. I know nothing. However, I surrender to that which knows everything, whatever that is, whatever your concept of a higher power, whatever it is. I surrender to grace. I surrender to reality. That's the nature of yoga. Yoga is simply surrendering to reality. And here's the amazing thing about reality. As Aldo was saying, he always tries to welcome change. That's reality. Reality is change. Nothing's static. We don't live in a static universe. Everything is constantly in flux. Here's the amazing thing. Every 2 years, or every year, 98.98% of every atom in our body is completely replaced. Recycled. Atoms that are new to us. Old to someone else, as old as the universe, but new to us. Completely replaced. If every atom in our body, every single particle in our body has been replaced in the course of a year, why would it be the same whatever? How could I possibly be the same person that drank if I don't even have the atoms of a drinker? I don't have anything that was. Every cell in my body's been replaced, every 7 years? Something like that. So almost every. Aldo says, sometimes I feel unfair because it happened to me like that. And I see others with the same problem and be like, just a decision, take it today. Hey, Richard. I agree, Aldo. We see so much struggle, especially people with addiction, especially people who could come out of addiction. And we ask, why me? Why did I survive? And I survived some fucked up shit that I brought on myself. No one else's fault. Completely mine. I survived. And friends that didn't survive, why? I have no answer. Grace. Why does grace shine on someone and not someone else? Part of the mystery. Part of grace. But it doesn't mean it won't shine on you if you make yourself available to it. Be open to it. That's the whole nature of showing up. When I knew I wanted to be a writer, I showed up at my desk every single morning. Whether or not I had an idea to write about, whether or not I was inspired, whether I had a theme, I showed up every day. Richard runs trails. Wants to run 100 miles. What does he do? He doesn't just show up on race day and say, hey, I'm going to run 100 miles. He shows up every day and he puts in his miles, puts in his burpees, puts in his swings, he puts in his work in the weight room. He works on his fuel. He works on fixing his feet, keeping his feet healthy. All of it. So he earns grace. The whole nature of grace is supposed to be unearned, and I believe it is. So maybe I shouldn't say he earned his grace, but what he did was he made himself available for grace to happen. And I think there might be a moment in every single 100-mile race where you don't know how it's even possible to take one more step, and yet you do take another step, and then another, and then another, and then another, and you finish the race. How did it happen? Part of the mystery. Richard said he did a 12-minute Iron Wolf drill today. That hurt bad. I will upload later. You know, Richard, you could have said, did a 12-minute Iron Wolf drill today. And we would have known that it hurt bad because it was an Iron Wolf drill. It's going to hurt. Richard says, I just think 10K at a time and 100 miles. My goal is the next aid station. Small bits. Who was the physicist? Richard Fenton? I don't remember. Who said it from bit. Basically meaning the entire universe from a bit. The entire race, the entire 100 miles from a 10K. Literally, you could break it down even further. You can go with the Tao Te Ching or Journey of 1,000 Miles begins with a step. 100-mile race begins with showing up first day of training. Journey of 100 miles began when Richard got that idea. I want to run 100 miles. Who knows if anyone laughed and said, Richard, you can't run 100 miles. Who knows if he had friends or family that said, you're absolutely crazy. However, he knew he could run 100 miles, and he did several times. Let's see. Richard says, yeah, the counting jacked with my mind. There was an article recently a friend posted on a Facebook page on trail running about ditching the watch, ditching the GPS, and just running completely by feel. Richard says, family still thinks I'm crazy 5 years after doing it. My brother does it with me now. That's awesome. Yeah, my family certainly thought I was crazy. My father thought I would stop at 50. He was like, he ran 50 miles, and that's a pretty awesome accomplishment. Why go further? Why beat yourself up? But when I started, I knew I was going to run 100 miles. Oh, Richard's saying he meant counting the 6 counts in burpees. It was his first time. It's a whole different ballgame. I went from doing 240 to 250 one pumps, not counting out loud, and considering them 6 counts. And then I started doing 6 counts, and I went down. I think my best I could do was 215. That's how many reps I lost. Aldo has an excellent point. This is the roar that Richard changed somebody. He's got somebody running with him, 100 miles with him. Someone said, hey, look at Richard. Someone got inspired, and they decided to do it. His brother, family. Not to mention, who knows how many other people, Richard, how many people watch your channel and think, you know what? I'd like to do this. Aldo, who knows how many people look at your channel and think, look at this guy go. Look at this guy put in the effort. Not just putting in the effort, but look at him trying to inspire me. Look at him putting that message out there. And then they pick up that baton and they carry it with them. You, Gus, Vinny, Osiris, all of you guys. Richard says, I remember in boxing, the 3-minute rounds were very long. 12 minutes doing burpees without stopping is long. I think it was a new challenge. It's definitely long. Hey, speaking of 3-minute rounds, I was thinking of a burpee routine of incorporating boxing rounds. Round 1, 6 counts, 3 minutes, minute rest. Round 2, and going old school, 15 rounds, the way they used to do it. Instead of the 12 rounds, they do it now. Aldo says, thank you all for that watch. Of course. You got a positive message. Your entire channel, everything you do is set to lend a helping hand to someone, to inspire someone, to give somebody meaning and drive, to say, hey, you can do this too. Yesterday I talked about where I want my channel to go. This is what I want. I want to talk to people. Well, I want to do burpees too, of course, but I want to talk about transformation and how to do it. I want to talk about inspiration and how to receive it. I want to help out my friends because of the positive message that they're putting out there. Aldo, Richard, Osiris, Gus, Barefoot Burping. I can just keep naming. Paul from Oregon. All of them. Every single one. Richard says that would be a cool idea. Yeah. I would even base it maybe on, Ali Frazier, or something along those lines, and just taking it the whole 15 rounds. And you make the round your own thing. You don't have to have a number. If you want to, just throw a few punches, fine. It's up to you. It's your round. If you want to go in there and go all out, hit those numbers hard, it's yours too. I need an idea for a knockout, though. We'll see. Aldo says that will be fun. We do that at my boxing gym. And Aldo says as well that, thank you, it's my only goal. I found that for me. I want it for everyone. And you're certainly putting it out there. And it's working. It's obviously working for you. You can tell by your energy when you show up. When you show up, you're present. You're there, and you're putting it all out there. So, again, that's what I want to support. My message is the same as yours. It's told with different words and a different style, based on different things. Obviously, I talk quite a bit about yoga. I talk about Buddhism. I talk about all this stuff. But it's the same message. It's the same message Richard has. Richard talks in the language of ultra running. But everything you see on his channel is designed to inspire somebody or to give them a useful information so that they can take what he knows and continue. Knockout round is psycho burpees. I don't know if I can make it that far. I have never attempted a psycho burpee. And my first one is definitely not going to be on camera. Man, that is an explosive rep. My favorite one to watch is Lewis. We talked about that before, Richard, and I believe you said you saw the same short that he did. Was just a uninterrupted, continuous, like minute long, if not longer, psycho burpee rep. Absolutely crazy. It's one thing to be explosive. It's another thing to be continuously explosive for that long. Absolutely crazy. So, see. Richard says Lewis did great. He did the same flow as Burpee King. Yeah, and when you can hold your own with one of the greats, then you're definitely on the right path. You've definitely clicked. That's your thing. If I have a thing, and I'm not 100% sure that I do, it's just showing up every day, being consistent. My only true talent is being stubborn, which is probably true. I'm only half joking. I'm stubborn about my writing. I show up every morning and I write every single day. I'm stubborn about my workouts. I'm stubborn about my meditation. I'm stubborn about my yoga practice. That's it. Richard says Burpee King says he invented it in jail. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all. I definitely never saw anyone else do it before him. Man, watching those top guys do burpees, it's just amazing. And again, they're doing the same thing. They're inspiring people. They're putting their message out. Aldo said that's a great talent. Thanks. You know what? In a way, my first instinct was to say, well, I'm not sure I can think of it as a talent, but it is, because it's just an innate quality of wanting to show up. Nothing. I always sort of joke that I'm not the most disciplined person in the world because I seldom do things that I don't like. The thing is, though, all the stuff that I do, I absolutely love. The weird thing is, I absolutely love discipline. I get up every morning at 3:15. I meditate. I write. I have that one cup of coffee. I go outside for a long walk in nature. And then I show back up. I get my workout in. I do some work. Meditate again. I talk to you guys. Obviously, I put out, 1 or 2 videos every single day, and I have since the very first one. So Richard says, do you ever have mornings where as you don't know what to write about? Yes, very often, fairly often. But the amazing thing is, there's always something to write about, because I found one of my favorite topics to write about is not knowing what to write about. To just write about inspiration, how sometimes it's here, sometimes it feels farther away, how sometimes words flow, and sometimes I'm stuck in silence. The amazing thing is to be okay with silence, to be okay with that space between words. In meditation, we call it the gap. The gap is that ever-present space in between every thought, every word, emptiness. And truth isn't a gap at all. It's always present, and it's infinitely deep. And when we become comfortable in the gap, we become comfortable with emptiness, we become comfortable with silence, and we can just sit there. And eventually, a word shows up. Eventually, an idea shows up. Eventually, a theme appears. Sometimes I'll take a dictionary and just open it randomly. Whatever word pops in, I'll write about that. Because I get out in nature every day, I always see something. I always see, like I've been writing about owls a lot because I hear them and I try to track them down. I try to find that specific tree that they're sitting on and calling to each other. Some days I do, but the vast majority of the time I don't. I write about that. I write about tracking the owls or finding the owls or listening to the owls. All it is, as Aldo and I were talking about earlier, allowing yourself to be open. Something's going to come. Einstein said, nothing changes until something moves. So just sit. Sooner or later, something will move and then everything will change. Our good friend Destiny Forever Walks PhD is here. Happy Wednesday, Eric. Stopping to wish you a happy Wednesday. Thank you. I appreciate that very much. We are talking about some topics that I'm sure are very dear and close to your heart, Destiny. Change, transformation, inspiration, the reason why all of us are doing what we're doing with our channels, what we're doing with our lives, everything. Aldo says that's a great perspective. Thank you. Appreciate that. Destiny is another person who is inspiring. She's putting her message out there. She doesn't care about the trolls or the haters who might show up and have something to say. Unfazed, she consistently puts her message out there. This is who I am. This is what I do. And I'm here to help. I'm here to serve. I'm here to inspire. And that's important to me, to make that little distinction between motivating and inspiring. We all need motivation sometimes, but motivation needs to be refreshed. I might need a little bit of motivation this morning. And in a few days, I might need to be motivated again. I might be having an off day and need to get motivation is an outside stimulus. Inspiration is internal. Something clicks and you're inspired. I think if Richard was motivated to run 100 miles, then he would have put in some training. He might have even finished one race, and maybe that's it. But clearly he's inspired. The race as often as he does, do as well as he does, and the train as often as he does. There's some larger inspiration at play. Clearly Aldo's inspired. And clearly Destiny is inspired. And it's contagious. You see someone putting that out there every day. You know, how can you not want to, again, pick up that baton and then be thankful? It's another thing with inspiration is you're always thankful for receiving it, for the grace that comes with it. It's somehow reality, life, God, whatever term you love to use, put that right person at the right time or the right message or the right book. Or I've had books that I bought 20 years ago, longer, that for some reason I never got around to read. And then all of a sudden it'll catch my eye and I'll think, you know what, I'll finally read it now. And it changes my life. Wow, where's this book been? It's been on my bookshelf waiting for the right time. I just wasn't ready. It wasn't right. But the seed was planted. Richard says, I see it as a hobby. Racing is a celebration of training. I don't care about my placement. My goal is to finish happy, which is always such a great goal. That was literally the same with me. It was also not to wreck myself so that I couldn't continue training. The race was less important to me than the training because I love training. A couple of days ago, I told the story when I was playing high school football, which did not last for very long, sitting on the bench. And my team was up quite a few points. And the coach said, McCarty, do you want to get in the game? And I was like, no, I'm good. I don't mind sitting on the bench. I'm having fun, cheering on my teammates. And he couldn't believe it. Here's the opportunity. Show me what you got. And I was like, you know, if you want me to, that's fine, but I don't need to. If someone else really wants to get in, send them in. And then after the game, I explained to my coach, I don't care about football. I don't care about the game, but I love the practice. I love showing up. I love doing wind sprints. I love doing push-ups. I love everything about the training for football, but I could care less about the game. And he's like, I think you should find another sport, which I basically agreed with. Destiny says, I love Mother Gia and spending time out into nature. I love hugging and talking to trees. I am the universe, and the universe is me. Your words I heard you speak when I came inspired me to say this. I absolutely love that. And I agree 100%. Nature heals. There's nothing like nature to heal you. It returns you to the source. I got a laughing face from Aldo. Yeah, that's a true story. Funny thing is, when I stopped playing football, I started training for bodybuilding. I was 16 years old, and I had every expectation of, I had the entry form, and I actually still have the form somewhere of entering Teenage Mr. Annapolis and Teenage Mr. Baltimore. And I love training for it. I even like dieting for bodybuilding. I chickened out, getting up on stage. 16, I was pretty shy. Getting up on stage and posing briefs and doing it. I could not see myself do it. So I shifted from bodybuilding a little more into powerlifting. Aldo says 100% nature cures you. Yeah, 100%. So, pardon me for a second. Let's see. Looking at the, I'm getting messages from both sides. Sorry, I don't mean to be distracted. Destiny says, yes, does heal the mind, body, and soul. And again, that's because we're returning to the source. The mind, body, and soul literally comes from the universe, literally comes from nature. When we return to the source, there is nothing blocking that healing. We're back to which we emerged from. All right, guys, it's been just about coming up on 45 minutes. So going to end the talk for the day. I'm trying to keep myself a little more precise. Hey, Richard, I really appreciate the big push for 300. And I made it to 300. And then I did the video yesterday saying that I made it to 300. Let's see, I'm going to backtrack. Jesse, sorry, I missed you. Jesse Ferret, what's the quote of the day? Mr. McCarty? Mr. McCarty or McCarty? Quote of the day. You want a quote from me, or do you want a quote from wherever? I could try to pull a quote completely out of my ass and see what it is. Destiny says, exactly, Eric, you always, and Sammy, thank you. Thank you very much, Destiny. I appreciate that. And have a great day, Richard. You as well. Aldo, have a great day. And quote of the day for Jesse the Ferret. Jesse Ferret or Jesse the Ferret? I'm sorry. Do not mean to get that wrong. Jesse Ferret. Here's a quote of the day, and it's from Wayne Dyer. It's an important teacher in my life long, long time ago. Given a choice, and we always have a choice, it's more important to be kind than it is to be right. There's a quote. Thanks for asking, too, by the way. Oh, Destiny, let's see. Congratulations on the 300 milestone. I was mentioning to Richard, I made it to 300, and then I announced that, hey, I made it to 300. Thank you all very much. And I lost 3 subscribers and immediately went down to 297. which is okay because I didn't feel like doing 300 burpees today anyway. But it will happen, and when it does, I will do my 300 burpees. It's been a while since I've done 300 unbroken, so I'm overdue. All right, so with that, all this quote is good. Yes, it is very good. Richard says we will get you bumped up for the weekend. That would be awesome. I'm actually, in the back of my mind, I never thought I'd get 300. I always thought if I got 30 subscribers, I would be doing pretty well. So 297, it's no small feat for me. But in the back of my mind, I'm actually thinking making it to the big time, 1,000 plus. We'll see. That's the dream. All right, guys. Hey, I really appreciate everyone showing up, and we'll talk tomorrow. And Richard, I'm looking forward to seeing the Iron Wolf and the 6 counts. They are no joke whatsoever. The game changer. Richard says you will do it. I hope so. I think it's possible. Destiny is offering me great advice. Eric, you're already there. See it in your mind. Very important. Destiny, we should talk about this sometime. Actually, Destiny, Richard, and I've talked to Aldo about this as well. Last thing, and then I promise to let you guys go. If ever you guys want to do a joint live session, any one of you, Destiny, I'd love you and I just to have a conversation. Richard, I think you and I could talk about training and ultras and all kinds of stuff for a good hour. And Aldo, you and I got tons of books that we need to talk about. So I'm going to put my email address, my Google email address, in the description for this link. And if you guys ever want to talk, let me know and I'll send you a link and we'll hook something up. So thanks, guys. I will see you tomorrow for burpees. Take care.